Faisal Hoque. I'm in Stamford, Connecticut. I'm founder of Hoque. I'm an author, serial entrepreneur. My company sells technology platform, but as an author, I write a lot about leadership, innovation, entrepreneurship, creativity, and undercurrent of self-development. So there's two type of things that drives every success. At least that's what I believe in. One is that your mental makeup or your psychological makeup, whatever you want to call it, spiritual makeup. That's one thinking process, right? So that's one element of it. The other aspect of success is systemic execution, right? Because success, if you want long-term success, you have to put process in place, and you have to establish systemic way of execution. So the technology helps doing that, exactly that. Now, the fact that we can talk to each other sitting in our own offices, it's an enablement. So technology is an enablement. Technology is a process, but technology by in itself doesn't assure success. So the kind of technology platform we have developed is to accelerate innovation and entrepreneurship and leadership mindset and process and growing sales, marketing, branding. One overwhelming thing for every single one of us to be future strong, as you put it, is how we're investing in ourselves, right? And that's what assures success. And it's repeatedly investing yourself, reinventing yourself, and pushing yourself in where you are not comfortable, right? Those are the key factors for any success. So what I continuously to do, which I've been doing since I was 17, years old, and perhaps that's the very nature of a serial entrepreneur, is that I have constantly reinvented my own skill set, new markets, new opportunities, and new products, and even my writing, which I started doing as a fun, and it's kind of now taken, a thread of my life by itself, was for, it was like reinventing, as I reinvented myself, those personal experiences, manifested into in these kind of leadership lessons. I came originally from Bangladesh, and since then I've been kind of hustling and going through different stages of growth. And as I fail, I reinvent myself for my next level of success. So, and as you know, my last book is called Survive to Thrive, which came out this year, is all about surviving and thriving. Whether it's an outside force that forces you to change, or it's you that's driving the change is inevitable, and you're going to change. And so the only constant is, have you learned enough to, discipline yourself to build new skill set, and discipline yourself to embrace the change and have a gratitude factor, an attitude to embrace your next chapter and move on to the next level, right? So that's been kind of my biggest lesson in life. Forget the technology, forget the publishing, forget the speaking, forget the building new products. That's what makes the difference, and that remains constant. You have to kind of dig in yourself and look for opportunity within yourself and see what is what drives you, and it's really the authenticity and passion that makes the difference. I mean, I know as an author you can relate to this with me. Your best pieces comes in when you write it from your heart, right? Your best product, I mean, as a product developer, my best product comes in when it comes from my heart, not necessarily just listening to outside world. You have to listen to the world, and it's the inward and outward connectivity, and it's the awareness between inside and outside that makes the difference at a philosophical level. That's one, right? The second thing is that this is where also the reinvention and future strong come in place. So you have to constantly push yourself to do better than what you did yourself. It's not a competition with others. It's almost like a competition with yourself. Can you make a better version of yourself tomorrow. And actually, all the great companies, all the great authors, whatever you, or all the greatest artists, they don't necessarily follow somebody else's beat. They reinvent themselves to make a better version of themselves. So that's the second part. And the third part is, it's devotion and techniques matters, right? And authenticity comes from being devoted to your craft on a daily basis, whether you feel like it or not. Leadership, at the end of the day, boils down to two, three things. First is that you have to have a vision, obviously, and but it also, vision is nothing without execution. So if the leaders who cannot execute are basically useless leaders. You can become a motivational prophet, but if you cannot execute, then you're failing. So if you look at from that context, execution is about ability to focus, ability to say no, which many leaders have a tough time to, especially the one that wants to inspire and motivate. And you can't do everything, so this ability to say no is a key factor. And the other factor is that we talk about a lot. Nowadays, a lot of conversation about transparency. The leaders needs to be transparent, not just within the organization, but also outside of the organization. And there are all kind of theories that are floating around what transparency means. But at a basic fundamental level, it boils down to communication. Transparency starts with communication, and communication and transparencies. The undercurrent is honesty. You have to be honest with yourself, and you have to be honest with your organization in terms of what's possible, what can you do today, how can you make a difference, and what's not possible. You can't do everything, right? So you have to be realistic and pragmatic in terms of your execution. So the ability to say no, staying focused, and this notion of a pragmatic notion of execution that comes from brutal honesty and directness. That's ultimately makes people more accountable and more productive and whatnot. And then last thing I would suggest is that just because you work longer hours or you expect that your people are working longer hours doesn't mean they're going to be successful. Relaxed people produce far more than people who are hyper and always trying to do too many things and work 18 hours and 20 hours and don't do a whole lot, right? So it's not, more doesn't mean more. Sometimes less means more, right? So it's this fundamental philosophical mindset is very important in terms of how your leadership translates into management, and that manifests into execution, right? And that, whether that's innovation, new product creation, or entrepreneurship, or taking a new product to the market, all that is very much interrelated. The writing is already on the wall in terms of who's going to succeed in the long term, right? So, if you look at the biggest companies today, not just in the tech industry, even in other industries, steel industry and other industry, they are not traditionally structured, right? And you can't, because it's not about how big you are and how many more employees you have. The talent pool are all over the place. You can and the younger generation are more entrepreneurial, even though may not be entrepreneur in traditional sense, right? They may not be building new companies, but there's far more freelancers out there who are somewhat entrepreneur by their own right? So and those talents and those assets are all outside of your world, outside of your wow. So if you don't take advantage of that, you're not going to be successful. So I believe people are multidimensional. We force ourselves to be single dimensional, and when we make ourselves single dimensional, which is like thinking like a corporation, we actually hold back our creativity, right? So when we allow that multidimensional and multifaceted, which is true nature of human beings, but with a focused effort, I think we can produce more and do more, lot more than less. And that's also where you're seeing the rise of these disruptive organizations who are like, whether you Uber or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and they are all kind of examples of that.